Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a foundation ranking video. I want to kind of try this out, see how it goes. Something a little different than just tutorial or favorites kind of thing like that. I really wanted to put into perspective a bunch of different types of foundations, anywhere from drugstore to high-end to super high-end, and I wanted to do a ranking system rather than just like a pass-fail, because there are different qualities that I could look for in a different foundation. There is a time and a place for every single one of these foundations. None of them are bad, so I didn't really want to do like a pass-fail kind of thing. I wanted to do more of like a ranking so you could see some of the best ones, some that are not the best, just again in my opinion. Again, they all have a time and a place. So I think I'm gonna just jump right into it here. So I'm gonna start with the Fenty Original Pro Filter Matte Foundation. This one is really, really good if you have normal to oily skin. I really wouldn't suggest it if you have a drier skin type in any way, shape, or form, because the way it dries down can be like a powderier finish. So if you are either drier or you didn't just freshly exfoliate, this could grab onto texture a little bit and kind of emphasize lines if you are on the more normal to oily side. If you are drier, I would go for the newer Fenty one, the dewy or hydrating one that she just came out with. This one is really good if you are more normal to dry. So this one for normal to oily, this one for normal to dry. They both are pretty long wearing. So this one I feel like works on more people, because this one you really have to be like, I don't even want to say this works on normal people. This really works on super dry people. So because this one can cover a wider range of skin types, and this one's one of my favorites. This one will last through heat, time, wear, anything like this I will throw on, or even just mix in. If I need my foundation to last like 8 hours plus, I'll go for Fenty. So this one I would give probably a 9.5, and this guy I'd give this one probably a 6. It does look really beautiful on the skin, but again, just because it doesn't work for as many people, it's a very specific skin type that can use this one. Okay, so moving on, something kind of similar to the original Fenty one. So this is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Foundation. This guy, again, if you need full coverage, long wear, very, 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 very full coverage. But if you put it on with a beauty blender, it can look very skin-like. If you put it on with a brush, it can look a little bit more, I don't want to say mask-like, because it really doesn't ever get masky, but it will look a little bit more thicker and more matte if you put it on with a brush. With a beauty blender or any sponge, this one really melts into the skin very nicely. It is a thicker consistency, but with a sponge it melts into the skin a lot nicer. And this one is, again, one of my favorites if you're looking for full coverage and longevity, the Makeup Forever. Again, I wouldn't suggest if you have super dry skin. Anything that has the word matte in it typically would steer clear from if you have any type of drier skin. So this one I would give also probably a 9.5, right up with the Fenty one. So next I'm gonna go into my NARS. This is the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. This is a more light to medium coverage. You definitely can build it up to a medium. I wouldn't say you can build it up super full coverage. No matter how much you pile this on top of itself, if you have acne scars or acne, you're still gonna see it. So I would say sheer to medium coverage. This one is really good for honestly any skin type. If you're oily, any dewier foundation is going to look a little more shiny, but you would just have to be going for that day. Or this is, again, a really good mixing foundation because it has a beautiful finish. It has a really nice thin consistency, so it can kind of dilute down the thick texture of any other foundation you're looking for as well. Obviously it's expensive to use just as like a diluting foundation, so would I recommend that? No, but I do that sometimes because I have it. But this one I do really, really like. Again, it's just a different time and place. I would give this one about an 8, just because it's not the most long wearing foundation, but the look it gives you really is beautiful, so I'd give it about an 8. So next I'm going to talk about my L'Oreal True Match Foundation. This is a really beautiful foundation. This is a high-end quality, very, very, very thin. I will say you have to set this one pretty well, and you have to use a good like gripping primer with it because it's very thin and it doesn't sink into the skin. It kind of just sits on top. But it's a pretty medium coverage, and I've sometimes even gotten full coverage out of this, but you just really have to build it up. And then again, the more you build it and the more you're putting on top of your surface of your skin, you want to set it extra well. I'd probably give this one an 8 too, just because it's beautiful on the skin and it gives great coverage. But the longevity, again, because of that thinner consistency, could be a little bit better. So moving on, these aren't really foundations, but they have the coverage of a foundation, so I'm going to put them in this category, and I use them as foundation. It is the IT Cosmetics Original CC Cream and the matte version. I am a huge fan of this one. This gives me more coverage than some of my foundations that claim to have full coverage. This is beautiful. It layers beautifully. It just looks like skin, but you can still get the most beautiful level of coverage out of this. It has your skincare in it. It has your SPF 50. I would give this one like a 9.5, just because the longevity is there, the texture is there, it looks like skin, the benefits that you get of the skincare ingredients that are in here. Very moisturizing, never looks dry. It looks good on a variety of skin types, whether you're 13 or 80 years old. It really does a great job at melting into the skin and not looking like makeup on your face. So I think this is a beautiful formula. So I would give this about a 9, even maybe a 9.5, right up there with the Fenty. The matte version, I'm not as crazy about. Even when I'm my most oily, this is a little too thick for me. This is almost like you're putting plaster on your face. Some people like that, but just the texture of it is so thick and pasty that it never really feels comfortable, and it does look like makeup on the skin. So this one, again, if you're looking for something to mix in to give you a more matte finish, this would be great for that because it is very matte. It's just very thick, so I really don't wear it on its own. So I would give this one probably like a 4 or a 5. It's still a good product, and again, there is a time and a place, but I would never reach for this like by itself. So the next one is going to be my first love for foundations. This was the first foundation I came across that like I finally started to get my makeup game together because of this foundation, and that is the Estée Lauder Double Wear. This is bomb.com. This is what I use on clients. A lot of the times brides, things like that, where I know I need a foolproof foundation that works on, unless you're super dry again. But even if you're drier, it's such a thin texture and it is still more skin-like that you can make it work if you prime and set right. So I don't really worry about it too much. It's not like the IT Cosmetics where it's like so matte looking. But this one is the longest wearing, most transfer proof foundation I have found. I was fortunate enough to work for Estée Lauder. That was how I started my cosmetic career. So that's when I first learned about Double Wear and started to like get into the hype of what it was. But it really, really is a great product, and I would give this one 10 out of 10, 100%. This is one I will always have in my collection, and I think most people strive to have in their collection because it's just foolproof and it works really well. Full coverage and really long wearing. The next one I'm going to talk about is my Beauty Blender foundation. I actually really like this. This is a medium to full coverage. Again, you'll see a trend. I really used to be into that medium to full coverage range. I used to really like matte, full coverage, and long wearing. Now I prefer a little bit more skin-like finish, medium coverage, and long wearing. So it's still similar, but a little different. This fits into that medium to full coverage category. Very long wearing, however, it does end up getting very dewy. Like, it's one of those foundations, I don't know if you can see how like on my forehead my oils start to come through and it starts to look like skin. I like that. Not everyone does, but I do. So this was the foundation that really started me down my journey of looking for foundations that looked a little bit more like skin, and it does wear very well on the skin. So I will say, if you're looking for medium coverage, skin-like finish, or medium to full coverage, skin-like finish, and long wear, I would say this one. So this one's probably, I want to say an 8. This one does perform pretty well. Yeah. Two that aren't really, they're just in the same category. They're not the same brand or anything like that, but I'm going to talk about them at the same time because to me this is like a very similar foundation. I don't even want to say similar because then somebody's going to be like, no, those aren't the same at all. But just to me, for where they fit into my collection, the way that I use them is the same. And the first one is the Lancôme Tient Ultra Wear Foundation. Again, medium to full coverage. This one I believe is supposed to be like does claim that it's transfer resistant. I haven't like really tested that. I, as a beauty person, just know that if I have makeup on my face, don't rub my face on like a white pillow or something. Like, be aware of the fact that you have something on your face. So I never really test like the transfer proof claims that foundations really have. But I know a lot of people say that this one is a really good one if you're looking for transfer proof. Medium to full coverage, long wear. This one does have SPF 15 in it as well. This is a crowd favorite foundation. I haven't used it in a long time, but I do remember really liking it when I used it. Again, this kind of fits in that same realm as like the Beauty Blender. This one's just way more matte, I would say. This doesn't have as much of a skin-like finish as the Beauty Blender one. So I guess it's kind of in the same category. So I would give this one about an 8 as well. The next one is my Dior Forever Dior Skin. I don't even know if do they make this foundation still? Oh my god, I've had this for so long. I think they make this, but they just changed the packaging on it, but this is like the matte one. I know they came out with like the matte and the dewy. This was the first bougie foundation Allie ever walked into Sephora and bought. And I loved this. I still do. I do really, really like this foundation. Again, similar to the Lancôme. A lot of them I feel like fall in that category for me, just because they're medium to full coverage. If they're not the fullest of the full coverage and then most long wearing, that's usually the 9 and 10 category. So this I'll still give like an 8 because the longevity is not like on par with my double wear. But it is a beautiful foundation. This is a good, like, I don't even want to say everyday foundation because, oh my god, it's Dior. Who wants to make that their everyday foundation? But the type of foundation that it is, I feel like would be a good everyday because it's a medium to full coverage that looks like skin. So I would say this is another, about an 8. The next one I'm going to go on to is another one of my favorites. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Freshwear Foundation. I love this one so much. I'm already going to give it like a 9.5 because it's just so beautiful. This gives you like the juiciest looking skin while still giving you coverage. And it doesn't look like greasy dewiness. It looks like just healthy, you just had a facial skin, but completely clear of imperfections. So you get the glow and everything from perfect skin, but you get the coverage of like a really good coverage foundation, and it does wear really well still. Again, not as well as my double wear because this isn't like super matte like that one is, so this isn't gonna stay as well as a true matte foundation would. But this one, if I prime it well and set it well, it does stay. Like, I could work a 14-hour day and it will still look pretty decent. So this is a good everyday one because this is way more inexpensive, and this is like what defines an everyday foundation for me. So this I would say like a 9.5 for sure. Next one is gonna be the Makeup Forever HD stick. This one's good. I use this more for like editorial glam because this really gives you just like model skin. It doesn't have a lot of coverage. I've seen some people build this up to a pretty decent coverage level, but I feel like you have to go through so much to get that kind of a coverage level. If you use it the way it's meant to be used, you really truly get a light to medium coverage, which is fine, but the longevity on this is not the best. It definitely slips off your face. Foundation sticks and I kind of have like a weird history. I feel like it just doesn't, they don't stay on the skin the best because they're so creamy, at least for me. If you have drier skin, foundation sticks are probably going to be your best friend because they're creamier and they really like to have something to seep into. So if you have more normal skin, foundation sticks kind of just slide around again. So this has its uses, but as just an overall foundation, that's what I'm trying to judge on. I'd have to give this about a 6. It does work nicely. It has its use to be like a sheer to medium editorial foundation. Looks great in photos, things like that, but would it be something that I think the everyday person would reach for? Probably not. It's a very like specific situation kind of foundation, so I'd give it about a 6. While I'm on stick foundations, just to get this out of the way with that one, this is the Hourglass stick foundation. This one I actually do really like. This one is not as creamy as the Makeup Forever one. This one is a little stiffer, gives you way more coverage. This is like the fullest coverage foundation stick I have ever found. Really smoothing, skin-like, The longevity, again, I'm still gonna put this in like the 9 category because I can't depend on it like I could depend on a double wear. I've worn this sometimes and gotten like a really long wear out of it, but I've also worn it sometimes and not. So I have to really like think about it, and I have to make sure I set it right with double wear. I could put in no effort to set it or prime it and it still is gonna last me and look good. This one you can get that longevity out of, but you just have to put in more effort for it. But for a stick foundation, this is the best one I've found in terms of performance. Really beautiful, full coverage. You could use this on any skin type, dry to oily, it'll be fine. So I'm gonna give this one a 9. So next is my Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. I haven't used this one in a really long time, but I love this foundation. I don't even want to say for drugstore is really good quality. This should be in like a YSL bottle for the quality that you get with this foundation. It's so, so, so good. Long wear. This is like a really good dupe for the double wear, I would say. Like, I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10 because it really does last. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to prime this a certain way or set it a certain way. It's gonna work no matter what, and I honestly would go as far to say that no matter what skin type you have, this would work for you. And given the price point of this, I have to give it a 10 out of 10 because like you can't ask for better from a foundation. Like this does everything a foundation is supposed to do. So 10 out of 10, the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. Next, I'm actually gonna switch it up and I'm gonna talk about one that I don't like, and this breaks my heart because I love this brand and I have never tried a foundation and tried it so much because I wanted to love it, and it just didn't work out as much as I did this one. And it, oh my god, it kills me to even say this, but this is the Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation, and boy is that a lie. When I wore this, even like my boyfriend at the time was like, we went to dinner and he was like, what's going on with your face? Because yeah, like it looked so bad. Oh my god, it was so bad. I cannot get this foundation to work. It's like you dot it on your face, or even if you don't dot it, but the way that I had used it is I just dotted it on my face like I do with the rest of my foundations, and then I went to blend it out, and where I had dotted it was an empty spot. Like it had dried out that spot or something and it wouldn't blend. So I tried it just on a brush, and wherever you would put it down initially, it would just grab to that spot. Like it's almost like it just dried too quick. I don't know. I've tried it with a sponge, a brush, everything. I could not get this to work, and that breaks my heart. And just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it wouldn't work for you, but just for the price point, it shouldn't be that complicated in my opinion. I've seen so many YouTubers or just people in general love this. This is like their holy grail. But it's a very polarizing foundation because you either love it or you hate it. I haven't seen anyone say like that it's just okay, but I've definitely seen more people say that it didn't work for them. I'm sorry, Hourglass. I love you so much. I love your powder. I love your stick foundation. I love your highlighters, everything else. But Hourglass, the liquid version of the stick, I just know I would give this one like a 2, and that 2 is just because the packaging is pretty. Positive note. So this is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Foundation. Medium coverage, or actually I would say full coverage, skin-like finish. I recommend this foundation to so many people because it works for everybody. Even if you have dry skin, don't let the word matte scare you on this one because it's such a buttery, like almost, I don't even want to say hydrating, but it almost has a hydrating, like silky application to it that it works on drier skin types even. It just looks like butter on the skin. This one, and I would put these ones, like they work very similarly. This one's just a thinner texture. This one's a little thicker, I would say, but they work very similarly, but this one just wears a little bit longer on the skin. So I'm gonna give this one a 9.5 because it works. This is like, you could blind buy this foundation if you knew your shade, obviously, and I guarantee you it would probably work for you without you having to prime it or set it in any specific way. This works for so many different people. I love this foundation. Next is gonna be my Maybelline foundation. So this is the Matte and Poreless, and this is the Dewy and Smooth. I think I like the dewy one just because when I know a foundation is gonna be dewier, then the expectations I have for it are kind of like here. I know it's probably not gonna last that long. It's probably not going to be like the most full coverage, and this one is exactly what my expectations would be. So it's not the most long wearing. If I had to work a full day, I wouldn't throw this on. And it's not the most coverage foundation that I own, but for what it is, it performs very, very, very well. It does even out the complexion. It's a good medium coverage. I would say about 8 hours of wear, nothing past like 12. But about 8 hours of wear. This one is beautiful. Again, I do mix this one sometimes, but that's not what we're evaluating these on. And SPF 18 in this one as well. I never know that my foundations have SPF in them. I usually don't like that, but this one was exactly what my expectations were. So I'm gonna give this one about like a 7, just because I have so many other ones that for some reason I just like better in this category. Matte and poreless. This one's a little bit better. This one does last a little bit longer, has a little bit more coverage. Again, whenever I see matte foundations usually have more coverage to them because it's hard to get a pigment to not look dry if you don't have that much coverage behind it. You usually have to have a full opacity for a matte foundation to look good on the skin. That's why you don't see many like matte tinted moisturizers. It's not really like a thing. You'll see oil free, but you usually, like, your ideal like sheer product is usually going to be a little bit more glowy. So whenever you see the word matte, usually it's going to have a little bit more coverage. So this one was a little bit more coverage, and because it was matte, it has more like grip to it. It doesn't sit on the skin as much as like the dewier ones do. Some of the dewy ones do. With the matte comes a little bit more longevity as well. So I would put this one in like the 8 category because, again, performs a lot better than the other one, but you also have to know kind of what to expect when you hear matte versus dewy. So 8 for this one. Opposite end of the spectrum from Maybelline, this is going to be the YSL All Hours foundation. This one's nice, full coverage, longevity is great, and it does have SPF in it, which is a plus for some people I know, but this one broke me out personally. Broke me out like crazy. I don't know if it was something I did. I haven't worn this one in a while, but it did break me out pretty bad the last time I used it. So I don't know. I think it's the fragrance. YSL, Dior, Armani. They usually, those higher end brands will have a tiny bit of fragrance in their foundation. That's, if you notice, like the Dior products all smell the same. It's like a fragrance that they use. So I think that's what maybe broke me out, but I should try it again because I'm not like as sensitive to fragrance now, at least on my skin. So full coverage, very long wearing. It's just the double wear is cheaper than this, and it does even better in my opinion. So I'm gonna give this one like a 9 rather than a 10, just because I don't even know why. I'm just gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because double wear is like even better than this and cheaper. So I'm gonna just go through these two quickly together because I didn't realize how long this video was gonna be. This is the Kat Von D, the Lock-It foundation, and the Huda Beauty Faux Filter High Coverage Cream Foundation. I put these in the same category because they, to me, are almost exactly the same. This is like tattoo coverage level full coverage, and like so much full coverage that's the only thing you're looking for in a foundation, that they just kind of forewent everything else. So texture, you're gonna look super matte. You're gonna look like you have makeup on. The only reason I keep these in my arsenal of foundations here is to mix them. So say I wanted to mix this with like the Dewy and Smooth to give this more coverage and to give it more long wear, because this will stay on your face like crazy. You'll look like a cracked cakey mess, but it'll stay. So like mixing something like each of these together gets a really beautiful result, but like, who wants to have to mix? I used to mix a lot, but now I'm just like, I have such high standards for my foundations that I don't have time to mix. So you either work for me or you don't. But these are really great mixers to have just in case you really want to wear a foundation that you have. For whatever reason, I've been there, so I keep these just as mixers, but I don't wear them on their own. So I would give both of these a 2 just because they do have outstanding coverage, but it's just so cakey looking, both of them. If you have really, really, really oily skin, like you're an oil rig and nothing works, then you would be probably fine with these. But if you're even slightly just normal or dry at all. Don't even like go near these if you're dry. It just so much coverage, which is awesome, but very hard to wear if you're not super oily. So I'd give these both a 2. Okay, next one is one that I just really don't care for. A lot of people actually really like this one, but I can't figure out why. This is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation. It's not full coverage whatsoever. I feel like this is the most medium coverage foundation. SPF 15. This is just very middle of the road. Tarte does really great products, but this just for me was a miss. Like I have very normal skin now, normal kind of combo. I've been oily, I've been dry, and I cannot wear this during any of those times where it works for me, whether I'm dry, normal, combo, or oily. Like it just never works for me. So I can imagine those are most of the skin types. Like I don't know who this really works on. I know a lot of people like it. I think this is just a good like everyday foundation, maybe if you really just want like a nice light to medium coverage where you just throw on this and a little mascara, almost like a BB cream kind of thing. And it is oil free, so I know it does kind of like cut the oil a little bit. So maybe if you're oilier and you're just looking for something medium coverage, this wouldn't be bad. But it's like a really weird whipped texture and it's just not like my thing. So I'm gonna give this one like a 3. Next, I'm going to talk about these two together. This is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation and the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. Now in my, was it my last video? It was my last video. It was my drugstore video where I compared this one to this one. These are like the same foundation. They're both stunning, both very glowy. I can't even say one has more coverage than the other, one lasts longer than the other, one has a prettier finish than the other, because to me, I would reach for each of these for the same exact thing. The only reason I would reach for one over the other is like this is like a night out, I'm feeling bougie every day, like, but they do the exact same thing. I'm gonna give these both a 10 because this is my either one of these are my go-to for when I want like long wear dewy. Double wear and the Makeup Revolution one are for when I want long wear matte. So 10 out of 10 for both of these. Another 10 out of 10, I'm just gonna breeze right through and make this one easy, is my Dior Air Flash. This has slowly become an everyday foundation. This is such a good foundation. I used to hate this, which is the funniest part. It's a spray. For those of you that don't know, it's a spray foundation. You just like spray it on a brush. Some people like spray it directly on their face. I would not do that. Like spray it on a brush. This is just the best, my ideal everyday foundation because it's glowy, it's medium coverage. This just looks like your skin. Like this is just, oh my god, every time I wear this, it's like, it's not, oh, your makeup looks really good today, it's you have beautiful skin. Like that's Dior Air Flash. So 10 out of 10 for this one as well. I only have a few more here. So I'm gonna go through my NARS ones, just the rest of my NARS ones. This is the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. This is amazing, you guys. This is full coverage, long wearing dewiness, which you don't usually see. Usually if it's long wearing, it's gonna be matte, like I said before. But I don't know how they did it, but they found a way to put long wear in a dewy foundation and it is full coverage. So it's just like, this to me was kind of like, when this came out into the market, this was the first foundation to be full coverage, long wearing, and dewy, because usually it's full coverage, long wearing, and matte. This one is full coverage, long wearing, and dewy. So if you got dry skin, normal skin, even oily skin can wear this because it's long wearing, so it really does like set well. I don't know what the magic is or sorcery of this foundation, but it's really good. This is another 9.5 for me. Okay, this one is the new Smashbox Studio Skin Full Coverage. I don't even, this is like kind of new, I don't know. 24-hour foundation. I'm not like a huge fan of this one. I tried this so many times and I looked so cakey wearing this. Very full coverage, don't get me wrong, if you're looking for coverage, like very full coverage. Not as cakey as like the Huda or the Kat Von D, but still I just couldn't get it to not look like cracky and makeup-y around like here. Everywhere else it looked fine, but around like this area it just looked so cracked, like thick, you know. Whereas my double wear, my Makeup Revolution doesn't do that. This one just looked really thick. So again, another good mixing one, but that's not what we're looking for. So I'm gonna give this one like a 7 because it's achievable to have a very full coverage foundation we've seen without looking cakey like this. Oh my god, I didn't do my other NARS one. So this is the All Day Luminous. This one is kind of like Sheer Glow, but way thinner, and it controls oil a little bit better. So if you want like a glowy complexion with a medium coverage, but you have oilier skin, I would go for this one, whereas Sheer Glow, I would do more if you have normal to dry skin. This one's more normal to oily skin. So Sheer Glow is normal to dry skin, wants a medium coverage, glowy foundation. This one is like medium coverage, wants a glowy finish, but you have oily skin. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna put these in the same category. Both of these are like an 8 for me. Okay, we're down to the last 5 here. This is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Foundation. This is bomb. This is so good. This is medium to full coverage. Gotta build it up to that full coverage a little bit. Long wear, and you look, again, it's another butter. It just looks like butter on the skin. I'm gonna give this a 9 because it kind of reminds me of the L'Oreal Freshwear. Like I would put these two, like if I had to pick like something that was dupes of each other, I would probably say these two. This one's just a little tiny bit more matte. It's not matte. Your skin still looks like butter, but it's just a little bit more like grip than this one. This one's very liquidy and like slidey, but still long wearing somehow. This one has a little more grip to it. Next one is the Too Faced Born This Way. This one's really, really good too. I would say this is right in that same category with these ones as well. Medium to full coverage, natural finish. I wouldn't say it leans matte or dewy, just natural finish. Long wearing, oil free, which is good. I don't typically put people in this if they have oilier skin, just because I feel like it can kind of slide a little bit. I can't really wear this one when I'm super oily, just because it doesn't have the best longevity. Like in this range, again, like around here, when I'm a little bit more oily, it tends to slide. But when I'm normal or dry, this one works really, really, really well if I would just want like a good medium long wearing foundation. So I'm gonna give this one a 9 as well. Next one is going to be my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This one is a 10 out of 10 for me. Again, this is like, I don't need to be full coverage foundation. I'm not, you know, doing like a rainbow cut crease, but I am doing full like glam, and I want a full coverage face, but I want to look like skin still and have it last through the war. This one is the one I would go to for that. 10 out of 10 for me. I love, love, love this one. You don't need to mix it. You don't need to think about setting it or priming it. Like you don't have, like still do those things, but you don't have to think about it because it'll work with anything. So 10 out of 10 for this one for me as well. Okay, final 2. This one is the Cover FX Power Play. This one just didn't wow me. I think it was just like, it's a more matte foundation. It's more medium to full coverage. It claims full coverage, but it's definitely that more medium to building it up to full. The longevity just wasn't there for me. I've tried it on several different occasions when I was normal, dry, oily, as I have all of these mostly. And all 3 times it really just wasn't, the longevity wasn't really there. Beautiful foundation, you know, it gives you that medium to full coverage, but I feel like that's so easy to do nowadays, even in a drugstore foundation. So for this to be high end and kind of just be like I'm gonna give this one a 7, just because the longevity just wasn't there. And then similar to that one, this is the Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation. Sorry, mine has like the sticker that I like could not get off, but it just looks like this. And this one, again, kind of similar to this one, medium to full coverage. You just have to build it up, but the longevity, again, for me just wasn't really there. Looks beautiful when it's on, like, don't get me wrong, it's stunning. The finish of it is a really, really good hybrid of skin-like and dewy, but still matte in all the right places. So the finish of this is beautiful, but I would just chuck this on if I'm just going somewhere for like 3 hours or like dinner, but I wouldn't like wear it for a full work day because it really just, the longevity of it just isn't really there. So a 7 for this one as well. Okay guys, so that wraps up most of the foundations that I had formed a good enough opinion on. I have a few other ones, but I really only tried them like once or twice. I didn't like have a good enough opinion on them to really form to feel like I could rank it. So if you're in the market for a new foundation, I hope that I talked about something that is what you're looking for. I know a lot of people used to look for very full coverage, long wearing, matte. That used to be the market, and if that's still you, then I did talk about a few like double wear, the Makeup Revolution one. Those are amazing for that. I feel like the trend now is kind of more glowy medium coverage foundations, so I had a few of those that are really good. I had some in the drugstore option, also the higher end options. And then I had some that, again, even my 2s and 3s, just because they didn't work for me doesn't mean they won't work for you. And again, there is a time and a place. They're all still in my collection, so clearly I love them all for something. It's just, if it's worth it to buy it just because there's a specific time and a place that you'll maybe use it once or twice or have to mix it, may not be worth it for you. Even my Kat Von D and my Huda, I do find times where I reach for them to mix them into something else. So I do still appreciate them on that level. And I have some people that I know, especially clients at Sephora, that's their absolute favorite foundation. So don't let, you know, me saying it didn't work for me deter you, but I just wanted to give the reasons as to why, because if those things don't bother you, then I would absolutely go for those as well. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this type of video. I want to do something a little bit different. I know foundation is a category that a lot of people have a hard time with. So I know with stores being closed and everything like that, I don't know if anyone's foundation shopping, but I hope I provided enough info here. But yeah, let me know what you think of this kind of video in the comments. Definitely make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and comment some of your favorite foundations below, or any ones that I didn't talk about that you would want me to possibly do a round 2 and talk about in the future or review. So let me know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.